Blessings, everyone. This is Priscilla Campos with the Temples of Atlantis. And today in our meditation, we're going to be journeying with the energies and the medicine of several retrogrades. One is Venus. Venus is a very, very powerful retrograde that happens approximately every 18 months. And because Venus is one of the very few feminine energies of the major heavenly bodies that we are aligned with, when she comes around to her retrograde, it's quite significant. So this is the time, and I'll say that her retrograde started around July 22nd or 23rd. The effects of it were being felt towards the end of June. But the thing with Venus is that she helps us examine our relationships. And it is our relationships with ourselves, with those that we've had romantic relationships with, within our family unit and our friendship, and a lot of times also as well as our finances. And so when her energy comes around, as with any retrograde, it gives you the chance to stop, to look, to pause, and to see where you're at. And then as you work through the retrograde and the medicine, it's your opportunity to change things. So in general, I believe her retrograde is about 6 weeks. So where you started on July 23rd, July 22nd, whatever that really potent energy was, and where it comes off to finish, it's going to kind of show you a story of your evolution within your heart and really within your course of relationships. Now, as you know, I'm more and more following Vedic astrology, which I believe to be more of a true astrology, because what's going to happen is July 22nd, besides being Mary Magdalene's feast day, Western astrology will also say it's Leo season. But if you actually look at where the sun is, even right now, it's not in Leo, it's in Cancer. And so it creates a little bit of something for me, because I'm not an astrologist yet, and it is my birthday coming up, and I think I'm going to set the intention, to study numerology and astrology this year so I can better understand myself, my path, the true meaning of numbers, and the universe itself. Anyhow, so I'm not a Leo. I have a Cancer sun. And that makes it difficult when I'm researching things, because there's not a lot about retrogrades that I can find written from the Vedic perspective. So when I read things from the Western perspective, even though the retrograde itself is correct, the signs that it's in, I can't really trust that it's true, because a lot of people are going to be writing, well, Venus is going to have this really important part during this part of Leo. And it's like, well, that's not true. So it gets a little bit confusing. But I think those of you that are attracted to my work and my teachings, we know that we are on a journey of truth. And the truth happens to have a lot of unfoldings with it. And a lot of it is what we're doing is we're unlearning. So when I started teaching online, spring of 2020, I always followed Forever Conscious, and I still really like her. And that's where I was getting a lot of my information from. But now it's like, you have to balance everything out. And it's true, even just in our society, whatever they say, look at this, get excited about this, get riled up about this, divide about this. You have to look at the very opposite of what they could be trying to distract you from. And so again, on this journey, we've come through so many things in terms of the pandemic, the forced injections, experimental injections, the way society has crumbled and risen and continues to crumble. So I think at the heart of those that practice these meditations, we're truth seekers. And the greatest truth, of course, lies within our Holy Spirit and our heart. And that's one thing that I believe that my teachings continue to bring out. What's the truth within you? And, it's not to say that all the astral journeys that we do are always going to come true for you. We work a lot on abundance and financial mindset as well. And sometimes we really struggle through that. Sometimes all the work that we do with our hearts, our families come forward and make it really challenging and difficult. But that's why you have a practice. And so Today we're focusing a lot on Venus, but there's another player coming in into the game, and that is Chiron. Now, those of you that have been with me for a long time, we work with Chiron every year at this time. So Chiron went into retrograde on July 23rd. So I believe Venus 22nd, Chiron the 23rd. That's already a powerful duo there. Now, Chiron is known as the wounded healer. He's said to be a centaur that was a momentous healer and went on to do wonderful things throughout Atlantis, and was later kind of heralded as a hero in Greek mythology. But where Chiron is in your chart, and really get used to accessing your chart through the Vedic, or it's also known as sidereal astrology, so you know where it really is. Where he sits in your chart is often going to be where your greatest wound is. And that wound is set there at that particular house in that particular sign, so that you can overcome it and rise through it. So there's different charts. We'll see if I can find something once again that'll help you locate where Venus is in general for you, which house, which sign, and where Chiron is. I know my Venus is in Cancer. If I was doing the Western astrology, she'd be in Leo, but she's in Cancer. And I don't know what that means necessarily, except that Cancer as a sign is very nurturing, very mother-like, very healing. It's supposed to kind of wade in emotions. I always say I don't feel like I'm an emotional person, but and I mean like sensitive, as in I cry a lot. That's what I mean by emotions, actually. But knowing your moon sign, knowing your rising sign, that's a beautiful thing about Vedic astrology, is it looks at the whole picture. It's not just where your sun is. It's like, where is everything, and how does that play with with each other and against each other? And then whereas Western tends to focus mostly on your sun sign, and then you build your kind of like your character from there, and you get attached to it. And the sun is the ego, by the way. And then you start figuring out a few other things. So as always, I have a friend I recommend, either for readings, maybe not with her because she might be too busy these days, but her students will be well trained by her, Jyotitesh Premkar. She does offer incredible readings when she's taking them. And that's who my teacher is for Vedic astrology. I started studying it in 2021 in the fall, and I completely fell off. But I think there was a quote, and I don't have the exact quote, but it says something like, millionaires believe in astrology, but billionaires study it. So that little, reframe of that quote shows you the truth, because the elites that run our world, they are looking very powerfully at numbers and astrology, but they know the true meaning and the true origin and where things are really placed. And so when they plan things, launch things, make decisions, they're doing it in its real form. And those things affect us. When we do it, we're working off of the 12-month calendar. That's not even true, right? It's not even real. It's really supposed to be a 13-month calendar. And I'm not sure how much we've talked about it before, but prior to Roman times, because there was a Pope Gregory, I want to say around the 5th century, but it might be the 12th century. It's a big variance, but it's something around there. He changed the calendar. Now, if we go back, we think about, we had 13 months. 13 months aligned to the 13 moons that we have a year. And the moon is said to be aligned to the divine feminine. So 13 is a number associated with the divine feminine. We had 13 months of 28 days equal. And then there was one day known as the day out of time, which in Atlantis and Egypt is right now is July 25th. I have no idea what day that would be in a 13-month calendar. But there's one day that's out of time. And that day is kind of like a reset, an ending, a void. And then from there, the new year starts. So we as seekers of truth have a lot to look into. One of our members, currently Megan, is a numerologist. And so when she worked with the energies, let's say when she's talking about August for us in the Gregorian calendar is an eight vibration, an 8th month. In Megan's numerology, it's a 6. And one of those little tricks that you learn as you go down the path is that when you look at September, October, November, December, the root meaning of those words, Seth, means 7. So September is actually the 7th month. Octo meaning 8. Nova, November meaning 9. Deco, December meaning 10. And so I like looking at Megan's teachings as well, and trying to wrap my head around them. And so that's just a couple of my personal goals, because I think for me as a teacher, the more I understand the truth, the more I can spread it to others, right? And I think I'm very honest in saying, I don't know what I don't know. I just keep opening up into awareness. And last year when we were doing some work with the Pleiadians and Neptune, the Pleiadians and Atlas, I was looking into trying to understand more flat Earth. And I don't know the answer. I don't know what the planets actually mean. I don't know what it means if our sun is not the center of our solar system, but we're the center and the sun goes around us. But I know it's fascinating. And that's what's always spurred me in my spiritual awakening, is being aware that something wasn't right, something not the truth. What can I find out about it? So it just keeps unfolding and unfolding and unfolding. Anyhow, that's where we're at. So I'm going to read a little bit from Forever Conscious about Venus retrograde and Chiron. I'm probably going to skip the parts where she talks about what signs they're in, because I don't really believe that actually is true. So maybe you want to take notes, maybe you just want to listen, but let's dive into Venus first, and then we'll go into Chiron. So just taking some breaths and allowing your mind to expand, right? But also doing some of your grounding techniques. Excuse me. Start grounding yourself, getting your cord into the earth, and really shield yourself, right? Check in with your auric field, how it feels in the front and the back, behind, and in front of you, above and below. And feel settled within your being. For those of you that practice Reiki, this is a great time to go through the Reiki principles. Just for today, do not be angry, do not be worried, be grateful, do your duties, be kind to others, and maybe put any Reiki symbols that you want. If you're now practicing the magic circle that we've been talking about in certain classes, you can put that in. But just, have an open mind and open heart as I read this about Venus. So Venus dives into the underworld on July 22nd/23rd, traveling retrograde until September 3rd or 4th. She will spend the entire length of her retrograde journey in the sign of Leo. Well, now that could be Cancer, okay? That could definitely be Cancer, that could mean. Whatever transpires under this retrograde, we are going to find ourselves moving up in our awareness, perhaps looking at things from a completely new perspective. One thing is for sure, we will be changed by this retrograde. Dun, 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 right? Venus retrograde typically gets us thinking about our past actions and how they are influencing our decisions when it comes to love, to relationships, and to money. Venus retrograde is typically not considered a good time to start a new relationship, change your appearance, or redesign your space. The idea is that your views are shifting and transforming, and whatever changes or relationships you enter will be a part of the old you and not the new you that is waiting to be birthed. Because she only retrogrades every 18 months, this energy is extremely rare. But another special thing is that Venus will shift from the evening to the morning star, and this happens on August 13th, known as the Venus point. She will disappear from the evening sky and eventually rise up to be the morning star. I'll pause there a little bit. So what's interesting is Venus is very important to the Mayas, very connected to Atlantis. Venus is associated with a lot of different things besides Venus Aphrodite herself. She's also associated with Thoth, with different archangels. In some ways, she's associated with Lucifer, because Lucifer is also known as the morning star. And it's hard without deeper study to understand what they're always talking about. But there's something about Venus in our ancient culture that is important. And so when she goes through this rebirth from the evening star, which she probably is for 18 months, and then switches into the morning star for the next 18 months, and then vice versa, there's something significant about that. So what we can think of perhaps for 18 months coming up is as she's rising, the love on our planet could be rising, the love in our hearts, the love we have for ourselves, to take care of ourselves, to take care of our finances, to know who we are and why we're here, those type of things. It says part of this rebirth is mirrored in our own being during the Venus retrograde journey. For the rebirth of our heart energy will become an internal unconscious state to a more external and realized state. So we go from the evening to the morning. And now it says, let's dive a little bit deeper. So talking a lot about Leo, which I'll leave out because I really don't think it's in Leo. She's probably in Cancer, which actually means she's exactly where it is in my birth chart. So very interesting. Issues or questions that can come up. Questions around our creativity and our passions. A desire to really listen or where our heart is guiding us. A deeper understanding of our heart's desires. Questioning relationships in our lives. Witnessing the end of relationships. Past relationship wounds resurfacing, heart healing, ego death, lessons with money. Okay, that's what I'm going to read there, because again, it gets a little bit tricky. Well, this is interesting. Let me read a little bit more here. So as up until yesterday, Venus was forming a yod with Pluto and Neptune. A yod is sometimes referred to as the finger of God. It's like the finger of God coming down and pointing to a crisis or situation in our lives that we need to deal with. Yod is active right as Venus stations retrograde. It seems something may come to our attention quickly, or a crisis may arise, guiding us to focus our attention on a particular direction. We may find the start of the retrograde intense because of this. And then July 27th through August 19th, Venus will square Uranus, which indicates sudden changes. We may find that endings occur in a particular relationship, or sudden or even shocking information is presented to us that changes how we feel about someone or something. This alignment can also trigger news relating to sexuality and women's health. From August 6th to August 25th, Venus makes a trine with Chiron, showing us there is real potential here to work through deep core wounds, and we may find ourselves coming to a greater love because of it. August 13th is when Venus becomes the morning star. And then August 23rd to September 3rd, Venus and Mercury will be in retrograde at the same time, along with Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron. This will be a strong time of retrograde energy, which can bring a very much a slowdown effect. We may feel sluggish or lethargic. We may find ourselves needing to visit the past. Mercury and Venus retrograde together may also stir difficult conversations or miscommunications. Let us remember that. Mercury and Venus together, the closest planets to us, when they're both in retrograde, there's a potential there for misunderstandings and difficult conversations. So as we get towards the end of August, you're going to want to be very, very clear about what comes out of your throat, what you're writing, what you're speaking, what you're saying, what you're sharing. Okay. And then August 25th, she makes a square with Uranus, where we begin to question our relationship with abundance and how we are choosing to spend our money. Are we buying things because we really need them, or because society tells us that we need to have them? On a wider level, this alignment can also shine a spotlight on issues around consumer spending and money issues for the country as a whole. Fascinating. And lastly, September 3rd through October 8th, Venus will be ending its retrograde and is almost perfect alignment with the goddess asteroid Juno. Juno represents marriage, love, and creation. Juno shares a similar vibrational quality to Venus, making the two a powerful and lovely match. Venus ending her retrograde so close to Juno seems to be a message that we are being asked to think carefully about whom we wish to marry, not just romantically, but whom we wish to partner with in our lives. We may find ourselves questioning the people we want to keep around us and the types of people we are choosing to partner with in all areas. Okay, so that's actually a lot of information there. So just taking a deep breath in. I know you're not absorbing all of it, but there's some key points in there. Taking a deep breath in. And again, allowing the mind to expand, the heart to expand, to suss out what's important and real for you. Now I'll read a little bit about Chiron. Chiron stations retrograde on July 23rd amidst some incredibly significant and intense cosmic energies. The lunar nodes change, there's a new moon, we move into a new sign, and Venus retrograde all happened just days before. All energy combined will intensify the healing work of Chiron, allowing some of our most painful heartbreaks to be channeled into something new. Chiron will remain in retrograde until December 26th, and by this point, we are likely to have experienced some deeper wisdom, compassion, and understanding from whatever our wounds were trying to teach us. Chiron orbits between Saturn and Uranus. The position is significant to understand the energy that it brings. As Saturn is very grounded, rooted energy, Uranus is considered a planet of a higher vibration. It can also bring about awakenings and the rise of Kundalini energy. Chiron is like a bridge between them, also referred to as the rainbow bridge. This is the link between our consciousness and the next, further amplified if we look at Egyptian astrology. In Egyptian astrology, Chiron goes by another name, Anpu, or Anubis, the god of the afterlife and lost souls. Many of the myths and legends used in Western astrology can be traced back to Egyptian and Babylonian astrology, and Anubis can be seen as Chiron's counterpart. The energy is not about obtaining a state of perfection through healing. Rather, it is about bringing acknowledgement and acceptance to our wounds in a way that allows us to access the wisdom that they bring. For Chiron or Anubis, accesses our wounds to reflect on how we use them as a source of power and healing. And we're going to leave that there. So, taking some deep breaths. At the time this is being recorded, we are in the middle of summer. In fact, yesterday was Lammas, August 1st, which means that you're 6 weeks past the summer solstice and 6 weeks from the fall equinox. And so I want you to imagine today that you are outside in the evening under the warm summer air. It's a beautiful night. The sun is just beginning to set, and the sky itself is full of incredible orange light. The orange ray at this time is reaching into your sacral chakra, and it's beginning to stir not only the Kundalini energy, but also your passion for life, your passion for the loves of your life. And really that creativity behind the passion. You are an incredible being, and there's so much to be birthed from you. And even though this is a time that things are getting slower, maybe physically, our energy feels different. Summer is a time of expansion and outgoing and hiking and being outdoors and meeting with friends and connecting to Gaia. And so we're at this balance of the action or the inaction that our divine masculine wants to take and the feminine creation principles. And so feeling the orange ray within your sacral chakra, what is it that needs to be stirred and electrified and created today? If we look at midsummer, how happy are you with what you've harvested since the summer solstice or since Ostara, since the spring equinox, when you planted those seeds that we readied at Imbolc back on February 1st, when you planted the seeds March 21st, and you nourished them throughout the spring, what kind of yield are they giving to you? And are you happy with that harvest? Is there anything you want to change now to help you bring an even healthier harvest come September 21st? So maybe this is a good time just to journal a little bit. Three to five things you're grateful for, what you've just harvested. And then as we look ahead to the next 6 weeks, knowing that Venus is really going to help us focus in on finances and our relationships. What do you want to be able to harvest come September 21st? So now, whatever you're thinking of harvesting, I want you to relate it to something that you know really comes into abundance throughout August. So quick example for me is I have a cucumber plant that's doing incredibly well, gave me 3 massive cucumbers already, and there's so many flowers on it. So all those flowers have yet to create the fruit. And when they do, come September, I'm going to harvest them. And I'm going to equate them to these beautiful things that I've just written down. So taking a breath in there. Now, as you stay at this moment at dusk, I want you to see where you really are. Are you on a beach? Are you on the shores of an incredible lake or ocean? Are you in a field, a forest, a mountain? And I just want you to look at all the abundance, feel all the abundance that the universe truly provides, that God has given us. When we connect to Mother Gaia, to this incredible earth goddess that we live upon, do you see any lack? Is there only one blade of grass, one tree, one grain of sand, one drop of water? Or does it seem expansive and infinite? And then as you look up to the heavens, is there only one star? Or are there millions, billions above you? And so in this moment, you're going to become a magnet for that abundance. And I'm going to bring in a red Tara mantra that helps magnetize to you that which you desire, that which you deserve. I'll say it, I think, for 9 rounds. And I want you to absorb the energy of Earth and the cosmos and see yourself as like, I am that I am. Red Tara, I call upon you to help us magnetize our wealth and abundance in all forms, not in all forms, including finances, love, joy, peace, freedom, good health, and joy. Om Tare Tume Soha, 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 Om Tare Tume Soha. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Red Tara. Now, being grounded in your space, it is Chiron I want to call on first. Chiron is the centaur. Chiron is the wounded healer. Because he's so tall, actually, he asked you to stand if you weren't standing so that you can more meet him at a heart-to-heart level. Dear sweet Chiron, what is it you'd like to share with us today? He says it's the quote from Rumi, your wound is where you let the light in. And so as you reflect, he's pointing to your heart right now. As you reflect on your greatest wound, do you see how the cracks and what it's created and even parts of the distress has allowed you to love deeper, to have stronger faith, to reach out for more help? And I like what he's saying. If we all lived perfect lives, in some ways we would never call upon God. We might not even believe in a God because everything is absolutely perfect. We're all wealthy. We're all loved. We're all free. We're all bountiful. We're all peaceful. And it sounds really good, but he's like, you almost forget to give gratitude because you haven't had any struggle. It's almost like it could be commonplace. Well, of course you have everything you need. Everybody does. And so it can slip into arrogance. And now he's showing me that's part of what happened to the Atlanteans. They had a really, really strong practice. They knew, they believed in a one and all creator. And then when those dark forces came and promised them more, they stopped believing the creator and just started believing in themselves, but not their Holy Spirit as connected to God, but just in themselves and in their own power. I'm getting very arrogant, dismissive energies. And it's not that God became angry at them, because we have free will, but they stopped calling upon him or her, right? Sophia, God. And when they stopped doing that, things fell apart, and more darkness entered, and more ego entered, and more suffering came onto earth. So the point, he says, is to really understand that your suffering in this lifetime is not meant to cripple you. It's meant to show you how incredibly strong you are. Now, if we think of him as a centaur, which is half human and half horse, think about the power and strength of having an upper body, in many cases of a man, a very muscular man with arms, and then having the lower body of a horse, 4 legs, muscular, fast, can kick really, really hard, can jump pretty good. So he's like, there's great gifts in being who he is, but there was also suffering and kind of being an outcast when the tides turned in Atlantis, when being a unique being became dangerous. But he doesn't regret any of it. He doesn't regret his path, because now as a master, he gets to show you the beauty of your cracks, of your wounds. And so he just asks you very simply, he unfolds his hands so that you can lay yours on top of his. And he asks you to hold gaze with him, to feel the heart opening, and to know that whatever your greatest wounds are, whatever your greatest fears, you have an opportunity from now until the end of December to make momentous leaps of healing. And I'm going to do the Green Tara mantra to now help alleviate the suffering and allow you to know that you are being empowered over this next 5-month cycle. Om tare tutare ture soha. 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 Now, the other thing that he wants to show us, which I know you're aware of, but let's just really tune into it. Allow yourself to expand, to feel the amount of support that you have. While you do have tasks on the 3D world to create the change and the healing, you do have to follow up, right? You do have to forgive and track your finances and pay your debts and love yourself deeply. You have to do those things. But look at the support that you have spiritually, energetically. You do not lack for love or support. Immediately are your loved ones that have crossed over, your ancestors, angels, archangels, ascended masters, unicorns, dragons, spirit animals, galactics, gods and goddesses, benevolent ones, and then the Almighty Creator, Sophia God, with their Son, Jesus Christ, Mary Magdalene as his wife, Mother Mary. This is how loved you are. And so the more you ask for help in an empowered way, which means saying, thank you for helping me achieve this, right? You always list it as it's already happened. Thank you for bringing the true love of my life to me. Thank you for healing the wounds that I inherited from my ancestors. Thank you for helping me get right with my relationships, with money, with people, with loved ones, so on and so forth. Say thank you to Chiron. He's just going to step aside, but continue to hold space, as are all of your guides around you. And then we're going to bring in beautiful Venus / Aphrodite. And for me, I see her kind of dust down from the evening star. It's like that star releases a whole bunch of beautiful stardust, and she almost floats down from the heavens and begins to walk right up to you. And in some ways, for those of you that are on a beach, she comes out of the water just like she's fabled to in myth. As we look at Venus, she also says, I'm not here to harm you. I'm not here to put you through old wounds. I'm here to help you heal them, to bring awareness to where you're still holding on to fears, to insecurities, and to judgments. And I'm allowing you the opportunity to know yourself better, to love greater, to be more sure of who you are, and to really allow others to see the true you that is compassionate and loving and forgiving and powerful and strong and brave. Rama Tima Ra, Rama Tima Ra, Rama Tima Ra, Rama Tima Ra. Everything sacred is blessed. Everything blessed is sacred. Because you are sacred, you are blessed. Because you are blessed, you are sacred. Deep breaths in. As you dive into the depths of your heart, what are you feeling or being nudged towards? What are you going to heal through Venus's retrograde? What does that feel like? Putting yourself about 1 month from now, around September 3rd, 4th, when Venus begins to station direct, what has shifted for you? And I would love for you to write it down, as in, thank you, I have ... You're just breathing. As you do that, Aphrodite touches the front and back of your heart and asks you to breathe in a very expansive way. Feeling the power of your own heart, the power of your light. Feel the blessings. Now, Venus has a little bit of a message as you continue to go along throughout this month. Keep following the nudges of your heart. Don't back down to things that have made you afraid. Face them with responsibility and see how much you grow as a result, how much weight can be lifted from you when you actually face your fears. Remember, you are a child of God, and therefore everything that you need, you already have. You just have to follow up in the physical material world with the human being that you are. It has to be a perfect marriage of spirit and physical, because that's what being a human on earth is. Breathing deep and wide. Saying thank you. Thank you to Venus. Thank you to Chiron. Thank you to yourself. Thank you to all your guides. Everything's going to be okay, they say. Whatever you're challenged with today, right now in this moment, lean on God. Pray for help. Listen and meditate for the answers. You are loved. You are loved. You are loved. In gratitude for this special time of year that we're in, for the celebrations that come throughout the summer and the traveling and the adventures and the soul-filling action, we say thank you. Thank you, Gaia. Thank you, God. Thank you, Sophia. And thank you to those of you who are listening to this replay. This is Priscilla Campos with the Temples of Atlantis. You can find me on Instagram at Temples of Atlantis or the Atlantean Priestess. The website is templesofatlantis.ca. And it is my honor to share, to teach, to grow with you. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or message me. Many blessings, lots of love. Rama Tima Ra, golden Atlantean blessings always.